Welcome back to Newsmax Prime. A bill giving Congress a chance to review any nuclear agreement reached with Iran is now on the desk of President Obama. This bill would give the Congress 30 days to review such a deal and also the power to reject it. But will the president reject? Will he veto this bill, or might, by some miracle, he sign it? Let's get insights and analysis now from our Newsmax chief political columnist, John Gizzi, who joins us from Newsmax Washington. John, any way on earth President Obama signs this bill?
I think if he has some of his congressional liaison head counting and nose counting and sees just how many Democrats are siding with Republicans in terms of skepticism of the nuclear agreement, he will do precisely that, because he runs the threat of his veto being overridden. Now, I'm not saying the votes are there for 2/3 and an override. I'm saying it's going to drive a lot of people into the arms of Republicans and bring some unexpected bipartisanship to the institution. I know the argument, going back to the Supreme Court case, U.S. v. Curtis Wright, that it's the executive that makes foreign policy, and one cannot have 535 secretaries of state. On the other hand, this is a very sensitive agreement coming up, and any agreements have to have the approval of the House and the Senate.
Well, the conservative criticism, John, the conservative criticism was, hey, wait a minute, you guys, by passing this kind of statute, are negating the constitutional powers of the Senate vis-a-vis a treaty. What do you think of that argument?
Excuse me, the Senate has the final say on a treaty to advise and consent on it. And the Senate has always agreed on multilateral and bilateral agreements. They have never turned it down. My guess as to what the president will do is he probably will veto it, but will make some concessions like getting more congressional or Senate input. What that amounts to, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Remember,
that's the whole thing about this president, because he doesn't have.
The Senate will have the final say, and efforts to limit that power, going back to the Bricker Amendment, which failed by one vote in the early 1950s, have never seen the light of day.
Well, there is something else we need to talk about in terms of the U.S. Senate. The whole renewal of the Patriot Act, the renaming of it, the curious situation where Republican leader, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has come out for Rand Paul, his fellow Kentuckian, for president, but Rand Paul leads the fight against reauthorization of the Patriot Act. 20 seconds, your take on that dynamic.
Well, this is going to happen. You know, J.D., as a former Arizona member of Congress, you disagreed with people from your delegation within your own party. I don't think you're going to argue with me on that. So McConnell disagreeing with Paul, not surprising. What I will say is the Patriot Act will probably be reauthorized because so many Democrats who criticized it in the end have conceded that since it has been on the books, the United States has only had one other terrorist strike on its soil since 9/11.
And we will have to leave it there.
Bombing.
John Gizzi, we thank you for your insights from Newsmax Washington. Now, for what you had to say, speaking of the Patriot Act, take a look at what William had to say as he wrote into us on social media. He writes in, JD, I'm confused. Is the Patriot Act the same as Deflategate? No, William. But unfortunately, they seem to both have gotten about the same amount of news coverage on the alphabet networks, maybe more for Deflategate. Gary also emailed in some kind words for our program and Newsmax TV. He writes, kudos to Newsmax TV for having the best live streaming I've seen on the internet. What a treat. I'm a big fan of the show, the straight-up questions from JD, and the interesting guests and insight I haven't seen anywhere else. Very best to you on your continued success. Gary, thank you for those kind words. It's the way to finish up the week. We appreciate hearing from you, and we hope you will have a delightful weekend. We will see you Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. Stay brave, stay free, stay tuned.